So today is Thursday, January 16th, 2024. It is now 4:06 p.m. and we are going to call the meeting to order. First, we are going to have a public comment section before we enter into executive session. So is there anyone here that has a comment for public comment? And we have for Meredith, to introduce Meredith to everyone. She will be taking our minutes today. Meredith, we do have a person here.
Thank you, Meredith.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Meredith. Physically in the building, Sue Perez is here. So if you can add her name for the minutes as well. Any public comment from you?
Do you want to?
Well, again, if updates for like the 25 year, because like I saw no agenda for today.
Okay.
So wherever.
So on the website, Bob, Sue had mentioned the information not being updated to 2025, correct, for our district for on the website. So they weren't able to locate, or she was not able to locate the information she was looking for. So
What do you first of all, pause that for a second. I just got an email from Crystal Corview saying the link is broken. We need a meeting ID. She just sent me an email. I've just forwarded it to you guys so you guys can send her something.
So you have two links in there. One of them says Zoom, I think, and then so you just have to click on the thing that says. You just have to put in the information below it. The passcode and the meeting ID are below it. If you click on it, you can just enter it in manually.
I resent it out, and hopefully that works for Crystal.
And I don't mean to be difficult, but just to be clarified, the email you just sent, Dan, the posted WCSU agenda, it's the agenda that you sent out that's causing the issue, not the one that we posted, I don't think.
Huh.
well, the one that Dan posted lists the meeting ID, the other one does not. So if the link itself isn't working and they're going off of just a link to Zoom, they're missing the password and the ID. So if
But the click to join part is the part that doesn't let you, it doesn't ask you for the ability to do that. So if you hover over that, you get a web address, which is I think what Meredith is talking about, and then maybe it prompts you for the ID, but just clicking on it brings you to a pop-up that says doesn't work.
Okay. Let me.
But it looks like you got some people coming in, so I mean, some people are getting in, so that's good.
So I got a link here. It says Windham Board regular meeting. Let's see if that one goes.
Let me check the invite.
Yeah,
I will
okay.
recopy the
So-
invitation.
that is being sent out, I don't know,
Passcode
Bob, if you have the ability to
7.
also make sure that information gets shared. Our next step is going to be going into executive session, so that can buy some time for folks to.
Yeah, I because you guys own the Zoom, there's nothing I can really do I don't know who I would share it to. I don't know who's going to be trying to get in. That's unless I get an email like I did from Crystal.
Right, so if someone reaches out, just let them know Daniel sent another email again with the information,
So the
so.
passcode is good. Just the link to that.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and just edit it and resend it out.
Okay, so we have, let's see here. Russ Cumming has joined us here as well for Meredith. Russ, we were having public comment before we go into executive session. Is there anything you wanted to have for
I
public
just
comment?
wanted you to state what the reason for the executive session is.
We'll do that when we motion into the executive session. Okay, so with that, I move to make specific finding that premature general public knowledge would clearly place the public body or person involved at a substantial disadvantage regarding a legal consultation. I move to enter executive session for the purpose to receive confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services to the body under 1 VSA statute 313 A1 F and E. Could I get a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, we would like to welcome into this executive session. It will be the board, myself, Abigail Pelton, Daniel Roth, Howard Iris, and Mark Ottinger. And once we come out of executive session, we will move on with the regular portion of the meeting. It is 4:55 p.m. We are out of executive session and back into open meeting. And so we will have, I don't know if we need any changes to the agenda. There's quite a few more folks that were here before, that were not here before the executive session. Did you guys want to add like a second section for public comment, or?
I'm
No?
open to it. Yeah, if anyone wants to.
So what we'll do is, we will add public comment again later on in the end, just so we can get through business. But this way, now since we have more folks that are on, there may have been somebody that wanted to make a comment. So we'll move that to before the superintendent evaluation.
Cool.
Okay. So moving on to correspondence, we received a public records request from Russell Cumming, and that information was sent to our legal team, and Russ was provided with the information that he had requested, and I have not seen any further communication of that since. So I think that is correspondence we've dealt with. Moving on to old business and approving the minutes of 11/21/24 and 12/12/24. So feedback received from that, the transcription of the minutes, most folks did not seem really thrilled about. We do have here tonight, I'd like to take a moment, Meredith Block. She is our minute taker now and will be going forward. Thank you, Meredith.
Desperately needed it.
It'll be hooting and hollering here for you. We're super happy to have you. So that will no longer be a challenge going forward. We will be having the minutes done and they'll be in timely. So for 11/21 and 24 and 12/12/24, so are those minutes, I don't know if were there any, I didn't see information of attendees.
No, I missed that. This is and I apologize to everybody, I didn't fully understand what taking minutes involved
Okay.
when I got assigned that project. So,
It's a lot.
I'm sorry.
I've been
Yeah.
there.
That's all right. So we do need to have those minutes
Amended. I guess.
amended.
Okay.
And is that something, Howie, I know you have a really busy schedule coming up here. Is that something
I
that
don't know that I'm gonna have time to go through those
go through
videos.
those? Okay, so
Maybe we can hire our minute
Do-
taker to go.
are we
go
rock,
back
paper,
through it.
scissors in it? Or
Well, we
do-
can ask Meredith.
Yeah.
But
I'm not sure if Meredith would be able to do that as she was not attending at the meetings. So we
Are they recorded?
Yes.
yeah,
If you send me the recording, I can do the minutes off the recording.
Perfect.
I would be happy to do that.
Your
That'd
your
be great.
halo is getting brighter and
Yeah.
brighter, Meredith. We can't thank you enough.
Welcome aboard.
All right, so perfect. We will make sure that gets sent to you. So moving on to financials. What is the pay number we're looking at?
Abby, do you want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, please.
That'd be great.
Pay order number 8 in the amount of $9,088.06.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I'll make sure to get the signature on the electric signature thing right when the meeting's done here. Budget. Da-da-da. You got the floor.
Back to me. So the board has not asked me to make any changes. We had some discussion at the last meeting, but I'm still presenting a budget that has an expenditure budget of $506,398. It is a decrease of 7.3% from last year. And we have education spending will be $432,130. This is a per pupil spending of $14,117.28 per pupil with the new tax calculation. And I did send you some paperwork that showed what the potential tax rate is. West River hasn't completed their budget yet, but based on what their goal is, I calculated a post-CLA tax rate to be 1.232, which is a decrease of 30 cents from this current year, which is about 19.55% lower than this year. So I'm looking for the board to tell me if they want any further changes to this budget that we've talked about a couple times, or if they would like to adopt the budget. Now, this again is without any building costs.
Correct.
So all of that has been removed. We are still going to be, this SU is still going to be billing Windham back for cord salary for continuing to run a bus transporting primary and secondary students down to Townsend. And there is $10,000 towards stipends for individual families to get for private transportation next year, should the board continue to do what they did this year.
Yeah, sounds good.
I don't see any changes needed. We have, and hold on one second, Russ. Do you have to leave immediately after this, or we have our articles? I remember there's language that I'd like to run by you.
I'm here until 5:30, which is about a half an hour. So we have a little time for discussion and articles before I have to run to the next board meeting.
Okay, I just want to make sure that we get that covered. I mean, we could do it now or.
Sure. I mean, we can have some discussion and I can interrupt if I need to see if, to make sure we understand what needs to be reported in the articles.
Okay. Abby, what do you think? I mean, do you want to flip over to that to make sure that we have enough time given what's on the agenda here?
Yes, I think that would be a great idea.
Okay.
So if you wouldn't mind, Heidi.
Going through the articles?
Yes.
Yeah,
please.
I can share screen on our article list real fast.
I do have them in front of me.
We have made changes within the list.
Great,
So
okay.
I think it might be a little easier if I just share.
And just for the folks on Zoom, Maureen, I see you. Russ, you had your hand up, and Crystal, I also see your hand up as well. So when we are taking questions, I will call on you. Okay.
Okay. So Article 4, that's proposed language, right?
You are going to add in $14,117.28.
Right? 14,117.28.
Yes.
Okay.
And the per pupil spending is the per pupil cost is actually 4.46% higher because of the loss of the student ratio, but yeah, 4.46.
And then the other one that we talked about was Article 5 and 6. So 5, we create the operational reserve. And then 6, we move the funds out of the capital reserve into the operational reserve so we can bypass any potential penalty from that lockbox, right?
Correct.
But shouldn't it be capital reserve, not operational surplus?
I'm sorry?
So Article 6,
Shall the voters of Windham authorize the sale of this? Oh, no, that's not it. Shall the voters of Windham School District authorize the creation of an operational reserve fund? Correct, because right now you just have a capital fund. I just was wanting to double check because you may have an operational fund from previously. Let me just real quick.
I was curious that if we had a zeroed out account, if it's still, like, do we need Article 5? Like in that
Right, that's what I was wondering as an operational fund, but it looks like you don't have an operational fund. So you do need number 5, creating the operational reserve fund. And then 6 will move the funds from, moving the surplus, but you want to move the capital funds. So yes, we want to move the capital funds, which are currently in there, 105,000 for the future purchase of a bus. But we want to move them into operational because then you can use them for a variety of things, not just the purchase of a bus. Capital funds were also considered building costs, unexpected, unanticipated building costs. So that's one of the reasons we talked about moving it into an operational fund. If you're not going to have the building, you don't have capital funds, you can use the operational fund for future tuition costs. You can use it for future transportation costs. You have a variety of options.
Okay, are you happy with that wording?
You have to add in, shall the voters of the Windham School District authorize the moving of any surplus for fiscal year 25 to the operational reserve, and then add another article saying, shall the voters of the Windham School District authorize the moving of the capital fund, capital reserve fund to the operational reserve fund.
Okay, I'll fix this while we go into other agenda items. Save a little bit of time, and then we can review it and adopt it afterwards.
Yep.
Alrighty, I think we have what we need from you in case you have to jump.
Okay.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, before she does jump, because we do have her for a little bit more time, and I'm not sure. We have some hands raised, so I want to make sure if they're for you. We'll start off with Maureen. Go ahead.
Thanks, Abby. My question actually goes before you started the budget discussions, and when you were talking about Meredith Block. If I remember correctly, at the last meeting when you appointed her, you didn't have her pay scale nailed down. Has that been done?
I think you had an email about it, right?
There's, what is it that you're looking to find out?
Well, you didn't know what she was going to cost when you appointed her, and I'm wondering if you know that now. She's not doing this for free, is she?
No, she is not doing this for free.
So do you know what the cost is for her?
So I'm not sure about if that's appropriate to share what the cost of that is.
I didn't ask what the cost is. I asked if you know what it is.
There's a cost associated with her being the minute taker.
There was a second point. I think Heidi was telling Dan that the percentage number he typed in was supposed to be 4.46, not 4.6.
4.46. Thank you for the clarification.
Thanks, Maureen. Okay, and then Russ, you had a comment?
Yeah, there was an error made last year when the supervisory union sent the budget to the state for calculating the tax rate. And I believe that error was in the $50,000 or $55,000 range. And I'm wondering how that has been allocated into this current budget and the tax rate.
Yep, so it is automatically added into the offsetting revenue for the fiscal year 26 budget. So it's coming right off of your tax rate. Are you wondering what your tax rate would be without it? Is that what you're wondering, or?
Wanted to make sure that the credit was properly accounted for and calculating the tax rate for this year.
So the overpayment was $54,768. It is automatically going to be applied right back as offsetting revenue for 26.
And Crystal Corview?
I had a hard time getting on the meeting. This isn't a budget question. I'm just making sure I didn't miss Bob's information about transportation.
You did not.
Nope.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Michael Pelton.
I was just noticing on the articles that you had there, I didn't see an article asking for approval of the budget with the monetary amount. For instance, last year it said something to the effect of, shall the voters of Windham School District approve the school board to expend whatever, 500 and something thousand dollars.
So, Michael, and Heidi, feel free to add to this, but this is what Heidi and I were talking about. There's new language this year that's unified across the state on how we have to report out for a budget, proposed budget approval via article. Is that correct to say?
It is correct, and I was focused on the new language, but I am sorry, Michael is correct.
Oh.
There is the old language that still has to be in there with, so that is my fault and I apologize. And Michael, thank you for correcting me. And I can dictate it if you want to type it in.
Perfect.
Sure. Yeah.
Shall the voters of the school district,
I'm getting to the right spot. All right.
shall the voters of the school district approve the school board to expend $506,398
Hold on. 500.
506,398,
398.
comma, which is the amount the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year.
Heidi, that's part of the same language of the same article, correct? It's not two separate articles?
That is correct.
Here, I'll go ahead and share. I just want to get it down before, make sure that we got that right.
Yeah, the total language is like a whole paragraph.
It
That's
is, yeah.
part of the new yield bill and the bringing back of the spending threshold added this language. And this was the similar language to what it used to be prior to the cap going away.
Word.
For the school board to expend,
Spend.
which is the amount which is the amount the school board has determined, which is the amount that the school board has determined to be necessary for the ensuing fiscal year.
Yeah. Fiscal year.
Yep, the Windham School District estimates that the proposed budget. Yep, that looks perfect.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep,
And thanks, Michael, for bringing that up.
thank you. Also, do you want to take a vote on adopting the budget while I'm still on the meeting? Or, I know we're having discussion, but if Bob, are you going to be on longer than me?
Yeah, I can stay a little bit longer. I have to drive tomorrow, but it's only half an hour, so I can stay till 6.
Okay, just.
Okay. Unless there's any public comment towards it, I'm pretty happy to go ahead and
Move to approve.
I motion to approve the budget.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Now poor Meredith needs to know the amount for her notes. So budget in the amount of
$506,398.
excellent. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
And
Heidi.
Meredith, we'll make sure you get a copy of that as well. Typed up stuff. Awesome. Okay. And so the budget
Meredith
is
dropped, so she's back now.
okay.
We'll just get that over to her.
The budget is we've adopted, right? We just did that.
Yep.
And we did the pay orders, correct? I didn't do my check marks here. And hearing request. So conflict of interest policy, discussion, possible action. Is this this is for a request of the hearing?
Yeah.
We'll make a decision amongst the three of us about.
Well, I'm exempt from it since it centers on me.
Okay.
But what I understand, there's a 2-step process. One, per the policy, is to acknowledge by the board chair the hearing itself. And then there is a subsequent step, assuming that you do, that Russ and I provide information, and then you and Howie vote whether or not to censure, to vote to censure or not the board member.
Okay.
So 2 steps. Does the chair acknowledge the hearing request? Then it moves forward. If it does, if you do, to presenting of information, and then a vote by the board. Minus myself.
So but if it's decided that that the hearing is not necessary, does it need to go further than that?
That per the policy is up to you.
So, I don't see the need for a hearing request. What are your thoughts on that here, Holly?
I don't see any either.
Okay, so, motion to deny a hearing request? Can I get a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? No, all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Okay. Perfect. Moving on to new business. So adopt the articles, for town meeting. So that we
Do we want to
did,
share that? And
Yep.
Howie, do you want to read them out?
Let's see.
Dan, as you share that, this time, if you want to make it single page, we'll make a bigger print, and the signature page doesn't need to be necessarily displayed. It might give people a better view of it. It's really hard to see. It's pretty small.
I appreciate the
I don't know if I can.
the comment. All right.
All right. Nice.
Consider it even though there's a valid complaint.
Want me to read it?
You want to read it?
All right, so here is the warning for the Windham School District Annual Meeting. Article 1, to elect a moderator for a term of 1 year. Article 2, to elect all other officers required by law to be elected at the Windham School. School District Treasurer, 3-year term ending 2028. School District Director, 3-year term ending 2028. School District Director, remainder of 3-year term ending 2026. WRED, School District Director, 3-year term ending 2028. Article 3, to compensate the school directors $1,250 each as included in the proposed school budget for 2025 to 2026. Article 4, shall the voters of the school district approve the school board to expend $506,398, which is the amount that the school board has determined to be necessary in the ensuing fiscal year. The Windham School District estimates that this proposed budget, if approved, will result in per pupil education spending of $14,117.28, which is 4.46% higher than per pupil education spending for the current year. Article 5, shall the voters of Windham School District authorize the creation of an operational reserve fund? Article 6, shall the voters of the Windham School District authorize moving of the operational surplus, if any, from fiscal year 2025 to the operational reserve. Article 7, shall the voters of Windham School District authorize moving of the capital reserve fund to the operational reserve. Article 8, shall the voters of the Windham School District authorize the sale of the school building to the town of Windham for $1, with the condition that the school building is used for community and educational purposes for at least 5 years, and if the town stops using the school building during this time, it will be sold back to the school district for $1. Article 9, to transact any other business that may legally come before this meeting.
Perfect.
excellent.
Howie, can you repeat number 8?
Article 8, shall the voters of the Windham School District authorize the sale of the school building to the town of Windham for $1, with the condition that the school building is used for community and educational purposes for at least 5 years, and if the town stops using the school building during this time, it will be sold back to the school district for $1.
Who made that up?
For what? Made up the,
What he just said about it being used for educational purposes.
well, that's what this building's kind of always done, has been a part of, so to allow the town to still use it for community or educational purposes, is not a bad thing. It's not.
To answer your question, the school board has drafted the entire list of articles. So yeah, we drafted that into the language.
Okay. So, I see some
And we
hands
do
up
have people,
here.
yeah, in Zoom land.
So
I saw Michael first.
Michael Pelton, go right ahead. I'll write my names down. And Kathy, Crystal. So Michael Pelton, go ahead.
All right. So I'm sorry. I'm wondering if the article where you authorize the moving of the operational surplus, I'm assuming you're closing the operational surplus fund, and I'm wondering if I'm wondering if that's the correct. I thought it was the capital. Yeah, sorry. It's the capital reserve fund rather to the operational reserve. I'm wondering if you need to put a dollar amount in there so people are aware how much money there is.
That's a good question. Is Heidi still on?
Yeah, I'm still on, and oops, sorry. You don't have to put a number, but I certainly can give you that number. I think I sent it one of the attachments of your budget documents, but I will tell you what it is if you'd like to. It's $105,805.53.
Could you repeat that again, Heidi?
105,805.53.
I think it's, yeah, I mean, I take the point. I think it's probably good to have it for transparency on there.
Unfortunately, but it's probably a moving number because interest accrues, so whatever number we put in today, when the transfer actually happens, might be that number. So better to leave it just move.
It actually won't move unless you put more money into it. And there wasn't any money in the current budget going into the capital fund. So it should stay at that number unless we were moving more money in. So I think you're good to add, you're fine to add the exact amount.
All right.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, does the rest of the board?
That's fine.
Do you like that idea?
That's fine.
So I like it.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Crystal Corview?
I am wondering if the board or Bob can elaborate to the public some examples of the education and things that the town can use the building for, that it wouldn't be. I think people have the impression that if there's not something educational going on there, the school district is going to take it back. So if you could just give some examples of things that could take place there.
Oh man, we don't want it back.
All kinds of things.
I mean,
4-H could get started and they could have club meetings or scout meetings if things could happen here.
We already showed a bunch of use cases.
Yes, there's a bunch of different uses. There's
we had yoga here, events. I know
feasibility study will be going on. There's going to be some more information that will come out of that could help guide the town into different types of activities that would be really within the town's best interests. So if that is in fact what comes out of it, does it turn into a rec center? Does it turn into do we get the swimming pool? Like who knows what will come out of that? But as long as it is supporting education and community, that I think fits the bill. Does that make sense, Crystal? Does that help out?
It made sense to me, but I think maybe the public is thinking, what the heck, an educational thing? We don't operate a school. So I think the clarity is good.
Cool.
Thank you.
But Bob, did you want to add to it? Because she directed it to you originally, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess the two parts of it is one, the only way that would happen is if the board challenged the town's use of it, right? Otherwise, nothing happens until somebody challenges it. So if the board never challenged it, in other words, whatever board is serving at the time believes that it does meet those criteria, then nothing would happen. So that's one way to think about it. The other thing I wondered, and I know you probably had some support from your attorney working on the language on this, but I didn't know if you wanted to say and or community and or educational purposes, because that gives you like, so if it's only community stuff happening and there's no educational stuff happening, both haven't been met because it's an and does that mean that the board would get it back?
Yeah,
So and or would provide either or of those things could occur and still meet the criteria that the board has set forth. And I'm
Yeah.
not sure what the spirit of it was to be, so that's just a question.
yeah, it was meant to be an and or.
Perfect.
I mean,
Yep, sounds good.
do you guys agree with that?
Yep, sounds good. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I ask though, the printout that you have here, none of what Howie read was mentioned in this.
Yeah, that was preliminary. This is the final version after we discussed it with the lawyer during the executive session.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, even the agenda that was printed out, somehow it's a previous draft. I'm not sure why.
So,
So we'll have to, after we go through all this, we'll move to approve the modifications. Because we already moved to approve what, we just changed what we just changed.
yes.
Okay.
So after we make all our changes, we gotta.
Yeah.
So we are, where are we at?
So we approved the budget, but we do need to approve the articles, so we're going through and making sure, so.
And there were other people
Yeah.
with raised hands.
Yep, so Kathy Edgerly and then Tian, you'll be next.
Yep.
I just got kicked out. All right, so,
So we have three. We were talking we called on Kathy, and then I think Tan, and then whoever name please is.
yep, so, right, so Kathy, you can go first. I don't believe we heard you, Kathy.
Okay. No, I think it ended. Okay, so I have three things. Number one, is the word community use, would that require a definition, or is it broad enough to basically cover almost anything other than a commercial enterprise? What if the town decided they wanted to do elderly housing? Would that be a community use? So I think maybe a definition or maybe something a little bit more. Second thing, what if the town says, no, we're not going to buy the buildings? Do you guys have a plan B? And lastly, I have the dates for the two information sessions where people can come and give their ideas about what they would like to see this building used as, and meeting with Stevens and Associates. So I just wanted to get those dates in before the meeting is over.
Can you repeat those dates again, Kathy?
Oh, the dates, it's going to be January 23rd, and I'd love to get anybody's feedback. This is the PM meeting. So in my mind, that was any time from 5 o'clock on. And I don't know, to get the most people, is it better before dinner or after dinner? Should I go with the architects and the engineers can come anytime from 5 o'clock on? So I'd love to get your feedback. And then the other meeting is a daytime meeting, and we were going to do it at 10 a.m. in the morning on January 29th.
At what time in the morning?
10 a.m.
4 a.m.
So I don't know if those are the two ideal times. I really don't know.
Or? Okay, 10 a.m. You're kind of cutting it now, Kathy. It's hard to hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't say anything more.
So the January 29th at 10 a.m.?
Yeah.
Perfect.
And
Okay.
January 23rd in a PM time, and I would love some advice on what is the best PM time. 5, 6, 7, 5:30, 6:30?
What day of the week is that?
The 23rd is Thursday.
Kathy, if you can send it to my school board email, I can forward it out to the community and ask them and kind of do an informal poll.
Yeah, I will. And Ellen's going to, and it's going to be on the website. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. Yeah, then we could do it that way.
But I just wanted some feedback on what the best PM, I mean, the select board meets at 5:30, the planning commission meets at 6:30. So I don't know what the ideal PM time is.
Oh, I meant the PM time. If you send that to me, I'll send it out to the community, and Ellen could as well, just to do an informal poll.
Yeah. We have all that planned. But the time, I'm just trying to get some feedback on the ideal PM hour.
On a Thursday, it's challenging because for families,
7.
kids could be doing extracurricular stuff. They could be having dinner. They could be, sometimes later times work better for those folks. So given that that's the case, that maybe I would recommend probably like a 7 o'clock time might be able to, but again, it's all depending on what people have going on with their families.
Can't please everybody.
Yeah. So
7 is after supper. People get a bite to eat first.
right would be my thought.
Okay. All right. And it will also be hybrid, so people will be able to go on Zoom as well.
Excellent. Oh, that's wonderful, Kathy. Great news. So January 23rd, set 7 p.m. 7 p.m.
Cool.
Excellent. Well, thank you again. And who do I have on my list? Tan, you're next.
Okay, I was going to ask the same question that Kathy asked, but maybe a variation of it. So the first part is if we vote down to buy the school, what happens to it? And then the second part is that if we vote to buy the school, do we have 5 years to make a decision, or do we have to do something within a year? Because whatever we do is going to require budgetary work and effort, and something tells me there's no money at a minimum unless someone explicitly puts it into a budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
So name, please.
Name, please.
Next.
What is your name, please?
And I'll add it.
Excuse me, did you answer my question?
All right. So, I'm not sure your question as far as what would happen if the town does not choose to approve that.
That was the first part, and the second part was if we do approve it, but it takes years to figure out what to do with it, is it really a 5-year deadline, or is it so I'm just trying to understand the time frame. So
there's a lot that's going on currently, even as Kathy mentioned with getting the feasibility study completed. So really there could be a lot of benefits to this building in ways it would be attractive to support and be a part of the community in many various ways. So it's really kind of that amount of time. Is there a path that can be broken forward as to where the direction wants to go? And then we can, if it's not going to work out, or say it's not voted altogether, they're just like, no, we want nothing to do with it. Then yes, the board is faced with, our budget only carries us through into the summer. So we will be working on Plan B. There is a Plan B in the works to consider, but there's not enough information as of yet to really bring that forward. But there's a lot going into looking at what could happen. Yes.
And Tan, correct me if I'm wrong, but what you're asking is if, say when and if it's voted in, but it takes a longer ramp, like say 6 months or a year to even get over to the town side. when does the counter start for the 5 year? Is that, am I understanding that correct? So like logistically, if it took a year for it to move from the school district to the town district, and it took a year, then would that mean that there's already a year down and it's 4 years really? Or does that start with the town ownership?
Oh, I think the way I read it is we've got five years to do something.
This period.
But if we fiddle F around for 2 or 3 years,
Sure.
I guess that was kind of the question I was going for. We have to wait the full 5 years to, abandon something.
This is like taking something out of your left pocket and put it in your right pocket. I mean, the town and the school board, we're both representing the same bunch of people. The language here is legal language. We have to put some kind of time limit on it because you can't have a contract that runs open-ended. So 5 years is a number that's been pulled out, but I don't see the school board chasing after the town to get the school back because
Certainly.
the way education is funded in Vermont, we don't want it. It would be quite a liability for the school board to hang on to it. So I'm not really concerned about, what happens down the road. I'm more concerned about the town, gets the school and puts it to good use. And I think we all want the same thing.
And I guess to further go on that point, terms like community and educational purposes and terms like the 5 year term that's proposed, a lot of that would have to go into the legal document that would move the ownership anyways. So we would have this as reference, but we would have to work that out between the town and the district anyways to codify that in legal terms. So when it comes down to, I agree with what Kathy said, that community needs to be, it's too broad right now. And probably from a legal sense, it's way too broad. So we would have to go through those steps anyways. But going back to the spirit of the article, that's really what we're looking at, not necessarily defining each term within the article. But we can certainly try to clarify either on the floor or informational meeting or something like that, if that helps.
Does that answer your questions, Tan?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, sort of so it sounds like the scenario that you guys are proposing is we buy it so it doesn't disappear from underneath us. We spend a bunch of years trying to figure out what to do with it. And then if we don't figure out something, then we sell it back to the school board. Is that is that like the order of the sequence in very broad terms?
Well, after 5 years, if this town could do anything with it, if the town hasn't found an educational purpose for it, after 5 years, it's up for grabs. The town could sell it to the highest bidder. That's what this language says.
Yeah, but instead they would give it to us for $1 so that if that funding or that sale was to go forward, it would belong to the district.
The only thing I could see,
Only if the town stops using the school building during this time, it'll be sold back for $1.
Right,
After 5
right.
years, the town
Right.
can do whatever they want with it.
that's a good point. And the other point that I see, or the other thing I'm thinking about is will be sold back to the school district. I think it needs to be more of an option back to the school district, not a mandatory.
So you're going to change it? Well,
Yeah,
Wow.
the more I think about this article, the more I think we need to do more work on the writing because
Well, if that's the case, we'll have to, if it's not decided upon today, it has to get decided, like we'd have to have a special meeting ASAP to get that wording squared away. So,
I mean, we can also do something on the floor to amend it and think more about this language because right now it reads at the end of the right at the end of the 5 year term that the town can do whatever with it, and
right,
it also
5 years.
and it also reads that if they stop using it, whatever that means towards the wording, that it mandatorily goes back to the school district. So I think it's.
Will should be changed
Could
to
I
can.
could I interject for a moment?
Yes, you go ahead. I was
Yeah.
just about to call on you.
The reason I'm interjecting is that I believe that Bob could give you some clarity. That wording is similar to the Articles of Agreement. Perhaps Bob could pull up the Articles of Agreement that were came out of the MUD formation.
Yeah, actually, thanks, Mike. I was trying to raise my hand. I think the language, what Michael's saying is this language is actually somewhat commonplace. The language in the West River agreement basically states this. And I think the reason I use this is that the board, the school district board and the town are really two separate legal entities, right? So I know it's a shared populace, obviously, but they're two separate legal entities. So I think the way that this is crafted is that if the town chooses not to use it after the 5 years, or even or if they vote not to sell it, the district then has the ability to dispose of it and take the money from that disposal and put it into an operational reserve, for example, which could be used for other purposes to bring down the tax rate. At that point, though, the community doesn't control it if it's been sold, and it could become anything. And so I think this is a way to ensure that the town ends up with control of it rather than the district, as long as it's being used for that first 5 years in some community sense or educational sense, which is incredibly broad. I think you'd be okay, and the town would end up with it. Now, whether the town people want the responsibility of owning it is a whole nother question. But I think that's the correct language. I think it does get you to a place where you'll know after a town meeting whether the people of the town want the town to own it or whether they want the district to own it. But if they say no, then the district would, obviously at that point could sell it outright and put the money into an operational reserve. After the 5 years, if the town did buy it for $1, they could also do the same thing if they chose to. So I think it's similar, just different legal entities, and that's why the back and forth exists. But yeah, that same thing happens. The Jamaica people were considering the exact same question when they had their vote last week.
Okay, so this language won't trip us up when it comes to like community or at the end of the 5 years or will be sold back, like that type.
Again, I think the issue here, so you would have to, in order for it to trip you up, you'd have to have a school board at, let's say, 3.5 years down the road, who goes to the town and says, you guys aren't using it the way you're supposed to, and we want it back. That would be the only criteria that could possibly trip up the town, is if the board is pushing the town to give it back to them because the town isn't using it in that manner. But because this is a legal agreement, in essence, once the town votes on it, my sense is that you'd have attorneys involved in that process if that was the case. So, but if the school board never purports that the town isn't using it correctly, then you'll never have anything trip you up because nothing could possibly occur.
Okay, so maybe we don't need to be pedantic about the language on this necessarily.
Weren't you just in
Mark also gave you guidance on this, right?
That's what we came out of executive session with. So my suggestion is leave it as is, and
I think you follow your legal advice on this.
yeah.
Yeah, to answer your question, when people bring up legitimate concerns about like the word of community or like the term and like sold back and stuff like that, like I take it to heart. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't want it to be ironclad that this wording means that it has to revert back to the school district, or we haven't defined community.
Were you in a meeting though with the lawyer?
Yeah, correct. And he did bless this wording, but people brought up good points, I guess is what I'm saying. So I'm kind of rethinking it.
Lawyers make mistakes too.
Exactly. Like, I want to make sure that we have something that is not going to bite us later. But it sounds like, at least from what Bob is saying, that this is standard language. Mark backed that up, and I have less reason of concern now, which is good.
Kathy Edgerly, you have your hand raised. Can't hear you, Kathy, if you're there, but I see your hand up.
Kathy's muted.
Yeah, Kathy, you're muted if you're trying to talk. Otherwise, there's name, please.
I've asked multiple times. I haven't given their name, so we'll move along. Maureen Bell.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and lower hand.
Yeah, thanks. I'm still not sure I agree with the part for at least 5 years, because I think the point that Tan was trying to make, it sounds like if the town buys it, we need to take possession of it immediately and start using it for at least 5 years. If you say during the first 5 years, that has a completely different meaning than for at least 5 years. I think you need to rethink that.
I mean, going back to what Bob is saying, it sounds like this is pretty standard because, yeah, we could go through this wording and combat the specificity of it as opposed to the spirit of it. It sounds like it's, correct me if I'm wrong, Bob, but we could probably pick apart the language all the rest of the night. But we're really going after the spirit of we want the town to use it. And we want the option to come back to the school district if they're not using it.
I mean, I guess I would fall back to I'm not an attorney. you guys
Spirit
hired
is
one.
one thing, but you know, if it comes down to legality, it's completely different.
Well, I think when it comes down to legality, it would be codified in a legal document between lawyers, right? So this is really.
But you're asking people to vote on this. There are no lawyers involved in this at this point. The lawyers would get involved after this is decided, yay or nay, and that makes a difference to me.
But Maureen, they were just talking with the lawyer during executive session. Like, what does that cost? And then, like, you're not going to take his advice.
Well, I mean, we definitely take his advice, but people are bringing up good points, and I want to.
What did that just cost you to talk to that lawyer?
Well, I mean, we went through more than just this article.
So we're gonna stay focused here on what we're talking about. Kathy, you had your hand up before. We couldn't hear you. Is there something? Can you hear? We hear you now?
Yes.
There you are. Go ahead.
And that is that one of the things. Yeah, one of the things you should think about, and I said this also to the town, just because they're giving it to you for $1, there are definitely closing costs and deed transfer costs, and these will be in the thousands of dollars. And I'm sure the town is going to say, we want the seller to pay for those costs. And I think you should be aware of whether or not, those are just things to think about. It isn't just $1, not even close, but even just to make a sale of a building. So you should be thinking about whether you're going to offer to the town to cover all the closing costs or not. So those are going to be questions.
Yes. There'll be a lot more information to come out, but if, like, the nuts and bolts of it, does the building want to be then taken care of by the town? And if it's not going to go through that way, we'll be forced with Plan B. So that's really what that article is getting at. Like you said, it can get picked apart. We can look at it. I think at town meeting day, those discussions can come up to further explain the article. But this is what we just came out of executive session with the attorney. So I'm going to recommend that we stick with that wording for now. And we do have some more hands raised. Tan, is your hand still up or did you put it back up?
Yep, I put it back up.
Okay.
So the question that I have now is it's sort of a variation of what Kathy was asking, but if we decide to, well, first of all, I don't remember seeing anything that the select board proposed putting aside money to maintain the school, whatever. So if we spend $1,
No, they did. 10, they did.
Oh, never mind. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
As long as it's in the right order. Yeah, totally.
Okay, thank you, Tan. Crystal? Corview?
I'm just wondering if Bob has limited time this evening, because I'm really hoping to hear his report. And if we're not going to get to hear it, can you email that to people, Bob?
Serve at the board's pleasure, but I do need to head to Marlboro now. So I can give you a couple minutes if the board wants to shift to that. If not, I can send an email out.
So are you talking about the superintendent report, or are you talking about the transportation update when it comes to kickbacks to what we talked about?
Does your superintendent report include the transportation information?
Should.
Then, yeah, I mean, I'm fine if Bob doesn't have time. If it can be emailed to us, I'm perfectly happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, in the interest of time, Bob.
Yeah, what works best for you, Bob?
I mean, the transportation thing was very quick. I can say it right now, and then I can head out.
Sure.
If that works for you guys, I know you're in the middle of this already heated discussion. So, the short version is that there was a question at the last meeting that I had left early. And it had to do with the transportation costs. And so I got some information I wanted to clarify. That the question was asked about whether or not, why doesn't West River contribute towards transportation of students? And actually it does. You have a revenue source, a revenue line in your budget of $7,800 from West River to help offset transportation costs for students heading. And initially this was for students heading to the secondary program only, because this has been a long-standing revenue source for the board. It was developed in a formula that Lori had developed years ago, and so it's a number that's just been used based on this formula. And I don't know the formula, so we can if you have questions about that, we'll have to talk to Heidi next time. Additionally, you get $11,500 from the state for transportation revenue, which helps offset some of that cost as well. So in total, you're getting $19,300 in revenue to help pay for transportation. And your actual annual transportation costs are just over $36,000. So your net payment out, your actual like locally raised money is about 16,800. And the number 30 to 50 was thrown about. So I just want to show you that you were actually in the $17,000 range. And that probably has come down as that single bus run that you were already getting reimbursement for secondary is also now absorbing into the elementary kids headed to Townsend School as well. So, and you don't have a second run for the elementary school. So in fact, you're probably saving some money. That expense of 16,800 per year obviously does not include money being put into a fund to add money for the school bus, which you don't have in this one because you already had $100,000 sort of sitting there. But that's what I wanted to report out on, and those were the dollar amounts. I can send it in an email so everyone can see it. I know it's verbally, it may be hard to process, but I can send that out and follow up with an email as well.
Yeah, I'd recommend, if you can send that information, we can hit our distribution for school board updates and the town, just to make sure everyone has that information. And I'd also like to suggest, since we're in the middle of the articles, I know there's a couple of hands popping up about this issue, and there's a lot to talk about, but we need to get through these articles. And I would suggest maybe we push it to next meeting, our next regular meeting, and have this conversation a little more in depth without Bob having to run to Marlboro and give us a little more space around this.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys. Have a good night. And just remember, after you approve your articles, you have to sign off and deliver them to the town. So other than that, I wish you guys the best. Have a great night.
Thanks.
Thanks,
You too,
Bob.
Okay, so Crystal, that answer your question? Is your hand still up for something else?
Just forgot to put it down.
That's all right. Barbara Jean.
Hi, I just want two things. Tam, yes, they did. I believe the select board did set aside $32,000 to maintain the school every year. I could be wrong. But the other question is, if we're going to push this to another meeting, that'd be great, because I have a lot of questions about the 5-year, like Maureen was asking. I'm a little confused and I'd like some clarification. I do think we need to be more specific in terms of if A doesn't happen, then B happens. And the money needs to be put in the article in terms of, as Crystal was saying, deed transfer money. I mean, all of the details. I appreciate you want to do the spirit of it. I get that. But I think informed voters it would be a good idea just to be more specific. So maybe if you want to push this to another meeting with more specifics, that would really be helpful in people determining if it's something that they want to do. I think that's a good idea just to give us some more time to talk about. That's it.
I appreciate your everything you just said, Barbara Jean. The challenge is the auditors and town report need to have this information, and I'm sure are really looking forward to us approving articles this evening to get to them. And I don't know how much that could mess them up by holding off even if it was for the one particular article, how that could hinder their progress. So,
yeah, and the suggestion I was making wasn't towards pushing out the articles to another meeting, but was the transportation update that Bob just went through. I think there's a lot of conversation to have around transportation, but we really need to adopt these articles. Similar to earlier, we needed to adopt a budget.
So does that make sense?
Anybody else want to talk?
It makes sense. I disagree, but it does. I get what you're saying, but I think more specificity should have gone into those articles instead of just a very blanket. But you're the school board and I'm not, and I'm new here, so I'm still kind of just learning how things work. So
we appreciate you, Barbara Jean. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay, so I did see Michael's hand up earlier, but I think it went back down. So what we are looking at with these articles, let me go back to my agenda here.
I move to approve. Can I just move to approve the amended articles? At this point, can I move to approve the amended articles? Move to approve the amended articles of
Windham District Annual Meeting?
Of the Windham District Annual Meeting.
Okay, second, any discussion? So if these all go through approved, Article 8 will be approved as written.
Can be amended from the floor.
That can be amended from the floor, right? So that will be definitely something that we can work on, that we could echo what Barbara and Maureen and folks have shared with us as far as concerns around that, to make sure that we're being very clear as to what that article pertains to. So with that, all those in favor of approving the Windham School District Annual Meeting Articles 1 through 9?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carries, so the articles are there. Okay, so that is done. Bob has left. We have now had an opportunity to public comment. We had at the very beginning before we went into an executive session. Russ was the only one here. There's a lot more folks on now. Is there anyone that is on that would like to make a public comment? I would like to also make a public comment in that I was informed of a petition that is going around in Jamaica for their pursuit of school choice. Through that process, there is every voting town that would vote them out of the supervisory union would have to have at least, I think, 3 members from each town to join a committee. It's set in statute, the process. It's a long process. So, but it does sound as though there is one circulating to go forward for Jamaica. And if folks are interested in our community of signing or interested in being a part of that committee, clearly your petition isn't to sign for Jamaica as we are here in Windham, but they would be looking for representatives that would be part of the committee that would be established once those petitions are submitted. So that's just an update that I'm aware of, and I know that that has come across our table before with what we've been through. I know Jamaica's been through a lot as well. So just to throw that out there and stay in the loop of things. Crystal, I see your hand back up. Was that for public comment?
Yes. Thank you for touching on the Jamaica thing. I think because Wyndham's small, we might only need one member from our town. And I've actually talked to Chrissy Haskins a little bit about it.
Okay.
And I did email Dan, and
Yep.
it kind of is my hope that Dan would be willing to be on that committee.
Like you do?
Yeah, are you talking about me or?
I know a lot about it, but I think that I have more of a knee-jerk reaction.
No.
I think this requires a very thoughtful, level-headed person to join that committee.
And I think that that's going to be the sense for all the communities. My understanding was, and I got sent a bunch of paperwork, but there's an actual form that has to be filled out for people who are interested in being a part of that committee. And it looked as though they needed at least 3 people from each town to be a part of the committee. So if folks are interested, please don't hesitate to send us emails and we can get you connected with folks.
The other thing, Abby, I don't know when they're thinking of having this vote. I think they're really going to take their time and get some good feedback. But when they are going to have that vote, I would like a letter drafted to send to our community members to support this vote. I think a lot of people don't understand the secondary school. So I really would like to see a letter so that people can understand what supporting Jamaica means. And I would like to see them supported.
Couldn't agree more. So thank you very much, Crystal.
Yeah, and Crystal, I did get your correspondence. Yeah, no, I'm honored that you're putting that forth, and I'll definitely consider it. And I have touched base with some of Jamaica about this.
And it leads to interesting conversations as well with the choice movement and our unique situation.
Yeah.
As well with middle school. So I think there's a lot of empathy for a lot of folks, and the best way anyone can support one another is a good thing. So without anything else, is that not happening because he's not?
Well, we do that independent of, he's not invited to the evaluation.
Oh,
but
okay.
That said, I do not know where that evaluation is. Did he already send it to us?
So we'll move that to the next meeting.
Yeah, because I'm not sure.
Because that is, neat.
Where that
so
is.
with that being said, who wants to have the honors?
Hey,
oh, I'm sorry, Russ, go ahead.
I just would like a point of information that if the school district is going to reimburse students' parents for their transportation, that's a distribution from the school district to them, and it's considered taxable income. So the school district will issue a 1099 to them as taxable income for the transportation payment. It's the same way the state does. When you get a refund from the state, once you paid your taxes to the state and you get a refund back, the state sends you a 1099 to include it in the next year's taxes. So it's a point of that if people that are going to apply for it should understand that it's going to be a taxable income distribution to them for the year in which they receive it.
Okay.
Oh, that's reasonable.
Yeah, that's
It's
good to know.
fact. It's what it is.
Cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, good to know.
Okay. Who wants to do the honors? Or did you have anything else to say, Sue? No, you're good? Okay.
Move to adjourn.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is 18:14 or 6:14 p.m. and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much and happy New Year.
Happy New Year.